Hi, I'm Joe Musgrove with Pulaski County Information Systems, and today I'm going to be taking you through a tutorial on how to use the DocuWare HR status change form. Now, you've received an email, and in the email will be several links. There'll be links to the training sessions. You'll have a link to the HR DocuWare system, which we'll cover in a second tutorial, and you'll also have a link to the HR status change form. Now, to make this a little bit easier to access for me, what I've done is I've created two desktop shortcuts. HR DocuWare, which takes me to the HR DocuWare system, and the HR status change form. Now, you can also save the links in your browser as favorites, or you can create shortcuts like I did here, or both. Again, it's kind of up to you on what you find is the easiest way to kind of keep track and to access the DocuWare system, the HR status change form. So let's go ahead and get started. I've moved my mouse over to the HR status change form. I'm going to double left click. I'm going to maximize this window out so it's a little bit easier for us to see. And I'm going to scroll down through the form for you. Now, you probably notice little, if any difference as far as the information that you fill out in the form. Again, it's the same as the paper form. What we've done is change the way you're entering information. So instead of a paper form, you're now entering this online, and then you submit it electronically, which is way more efficient than the old manual way of a paper form and sending it via snail mail. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing that you have to choose is a document purpose, and in this case you have two options. You have employment decision and leave request. And before we choose one, I also want to bring your attention to the asterisk next to the name of this area, document purpose. Now, the asterisk symbolizes a required field. So in other words, you can't leave that blank. So it's either a required field where you have to enter information, or a radio button, or a checkbox. That's a requirement. So in this case, I'm going to say employment decision because it's going to be a new hire. Employee number, again, now this is not a required field. You notice there's no asterisk to the right here, but let's say I know this information, so I'm going to put in the employee number. We'll just make up one. We'll say 5698. Last name, this person has a last name of Grant. Now I can tab between fields, or hold down my shift button and tab, which takes me up. Or you can just left click. It's just like any online form. Either way is fine. So in this case, I'm going to just left click in the next one, which will be first name, and it's James. Middle name's not required, but in this case I know it, and so I'll put James' middle name, which is Ben. Scroll down. Date of birth. Now, on a calendar field, you have different options here. I can left click on the calendar symbol, and by default, unless you've typed something in here, in that case it'll bring up the calendar for the dates that you've typed in. But if it's blank, what it's going to do is it's going to default to the month and day that is current. In this case, it's going to be the 11th of May. Well, this is a date of birth. I know James was born in 1968, so that's going to be a lot of scrolling through to find 1968. So in this case, what I'm going to do is just enter it manually. So I'll put the month, which is July, and with the date field, it automatically puts the forward slashes in there. So 07, was born on the 20th day, and the year is 1968. Now you can highlight any of these areas and change them. Let's say go back and I double check, and it's actually James's birthday is the 21st, so I'd move the mouse over, left click on the day in this case, type in 21, and then it'll hop over to the year, and of course the year is fine. So 7/21/68, that's correct. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tab key. Of course I can left click if I want to go to the next section. I'll use the tab key in this case on the keyboard. Takes me down to race, and I know James is Hispanic, so I'll left click number 1 here, and again has information as far as which number belongs to different race, different ethnicity. Gender, I'm going to use the drop-down arrow, and I'm going to choose male. Marital status, married. Again, these aren't required, so if it's not required, you don't have that information, you're okay. Just skip it. Of course, that'll be entered at a later time through the workflow process. Address, we'll just make up an address here. We'll say 5689, about Rock Lane. City, Little Rock. State, you can hit your drop-down arrow here, which brings up your list of states. Or if you know it, you can start typing in the first two letters. In this case, it's Arkansas. So I've selected this drop-down here. Notice it's blue. And I'm just going to type in AR, Arkansas. Left-click in zip code, 72201. Home phone. Now, in this version of the phone, it will not automatically put the dashes. So we'll have to do that. So let's say it's a 501 area code. Hit the dash key on the keyboard. We'll say 663 dash, say how about 8969. All right. Message phone, that can be just a secondary way of contacting the person. That can be cell phone, another landline, anything like that. Social Security number, it's not required, but I do know it in this case. Now, again, in this version of the form, it won't put the dashes, so you'll need to do that. So we'll put in a fictitious Social Security number. We'll say 123 8899. Now, I will tell you, as you probably know, with a status change form, there will be some times where you'll be putting in sensitive information, such as a Social Security number. You might be attaching a document that has information it's sensitive. Only certain people need to see it. Now, this system, all the data is encrypted, and it meets certain security standards, high-level security standards, including HIPAA compliancy. So you're okay here. So in this case, Social Security number, I know it's encrypted, no problem there for entering it. I know the Social Security number, I have that information, and so I'm going to go ahead and put that. Data hire. Now let's say the data hire is today, so I'm going to show you another shortcut that you can use in the date field. I'm just going to left click in here to highlight it, or excuse me, to select it, and I'm going to hit the X key on my keyboard. And when you hit the X key, it'll by default put in today's date. All right. Of course, I could have gone to the calendar view and selected if I'd wanted to do that, or just type it in. Again, it's up to you. Department name. Now, in my case, it's Central Data Processing. Of course, you would choose the department name and the department number that you're working for, you're filling out the form for. Department number, we'll say 5100 in my case. Central Data Processing, so I'm going to scroll down. Left click on Central Data Processing. Personal action, this is a new hire. Now, what I want to do here is, this is required, but I want to show you what happens if you're filling this out and you kind of overlook a required field or radio button or checkbox and the message that you get. So I'm going to skip this for now. Effective date, that's today, and of course I could hit the X key, but in this case I'll just go ahead and left click on the symbol, come down here to today's date, puts it in automatically. Again, depending on the type of status change form, the reason you're filling out a status change form, some areas and fields and check boxes and radio buttons won't be required. So like in this case, last day worked, it's a new employee, that's not relevant. Reason for action, it's not required. It's a free form field, so you can certainly type something in here. Employment separation status, it's not relevant in this case. Position control information. So let's say I know that, so I will go ahead and put that in there. So let's say user support analyst. I know the PCN, the control number, we'll just say 012. Now this is a salaried position, so there's no grade or step in this example. So we'll give him an annual salary of $40,000, and again this is a free form, so I'm going to go ahead and type the currency symbol in, 40123. All right. Check 1, full-time regular employee. All right. And so this is not a transfer or promotion or anything, so there's no new title or new PCA, so we're going to leave this area blank. Now I'm going to come down here, today's date. I'm going to just left click in this field. I'm going to hit the X key, brings up today's date. Now, let's say that I needed to attach a form or a document or a spreadsheet. I have to attach something, and as long as it's in an electronic form, I can do that. I can attach it at this stage to my status change form, and when submitting it, both the form and the attachments will be sent up to HR. So let's say in the case of James, I want to do a salary justification letter. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, you see attach file. I'm going to move the mouse where it says click to browse, and I'm going to left click. Now, with the computer that I'm doing the training on here, the default window that comes up is the desktop window, and that might be different depending on your computer settings. But that's fine. It's like just really just general use in Windows. You can certainly go out to different drives. You can search for documents. Just the standard way you would find a document when using the Windows system. In my case, in this example, I actually have the documents that I need on the desktop. So what I'm going to do here, let's say employee document 1 is going to be my justification letter. So I'm going to left click to highlight that. Come down here where it says open. I'm going to left click on open, and it drops it. Creates an attachment and drops it down here in this area. And you see it tells you the name. In this case, it's a document. And again, it doesn't have to be a document. It can be a PDF file, spreadsheet, an image, whatever you need to upload with a status change form. And you can do multiple. So let's say that I've got my justification letter, but I've got a really good recommendation from James, his last place of employment. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put that in there as well. So I'm going to come back up here, click to browse. Again, in my case, it defaults to the desktop window. And let's say the letter from James's old boss, his previous place of employment, is here. So it's employment document 2. So I'm going to left click, come down here, left click on open, and it's there. Now, a few things here is one, when you send this, the attachments are going to arrive in HR in the order that you've attached them. So in this case, they'll have the status change form, and as they're looking at this, there'll be an electronic version of document 1 followed by an electronic version of document 2. And so they will be in the order that you select, which might not be any big deal to you. But let's say that you had a multi-part document where you wanted to make sure that when things arrive that your attachments were in a certain order. So you need to make sure that whatever order you want those to arrive in HR with a status change form is the same order that you're actually attaching in the document. Now the other thing too is you can, as long as you have not submitted this, you can go back and make changes to this to the status change form, as well as taking out the attachments. And it's very easy to do. Let's say in this case, I've got the justification letter, which is employee document 1. But I think what I'm going to do as far as the letter recommendation from his past area of employment, I'm just going to go ahead and just keep that in a file within the department. I'm not going to submit that to HR. So to remove that, I can come over here to the left, to the right, to the trash can symbol, and I'm going to left click the trash can symbol, and it takes it out. Now, I'm good to go. So at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and submit. And remember, there's one required area that I've skipped here, and I'm going to show you what message comes up in this specific case. Come over here, move the mouse to where it says submit. I'm going to left click, and I get a message here. It says personal action is a required field. Now, personal action is the area that I deliberately left blank. It's a required field. It's not going to let me submit it. And if it had been another field or a radio button or a checkbox, it'll tell you the name of the section and remind you it's a required field. So in this case, it's like, oh, personal action. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and correct that. So here I am at personal action, and I don't have anything chosen. Well, James is a new hire, so I'm going to left click the new hire radio button. And I'm going to scroll down and then submit the form. Okay, so I'm ready to go, ready to submit. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and look at my information one more time. It's always a good idea just to double check to make sure before you submit anything. Okay, I'm good to go. So what I'm going to do is move the mouse to where it says submit. I'm going to left click the submit button. You'll notice a little round symbol that appears, which is just telling you that it's being submitted to the system. So it'll take a few seconds here. And then it automatically redirects you back to a blank form. Now, if you don't have to fill out another status change form, from here you can just close out the form. And that's it. Thank you for watching.